there's a good quote. It's anyone that's self-employed will try and avoid working 40 hours a week for someone else to work 80 hours a week for themselves. All right, so what question do I have? Why don't you get a real job?
Why don't you get a real job?
I like this question. I've been asked a variation of this question quite a few times. Usually, when are you going to get a real job?
Why don't you get a real job? You mean I don't?
Depends what you constitute as a real job. For me, I work as a travel blogger. I own 2 online travel agencies, and I do a lot of videography for companies as well. So if you break it down, those are some pretty real jobs.
Yeah, so I did think the question was kind of funny, because I do consider my job to be a real job.
Well, a real job for someone back at home would be doing a 9 to 5 and having solid hours, having a boss, having someone looking over your shoulder all the time.
You don't report to anybody except yourself, so there's still a lot of accountability, but it's to yourself.
I don't want to have a boss that I need to ask for permission to go somewhere.
Real job, 9 to 5, office, set hours, tea breaks, lunch breaks. I mean, for me, you know, I might not wake up until 11 o'clock one day and then I'll go for a surf, but then what you don't see is me working until 3 o'clock in the morning with a cup of coffee, or, you know, just sat there like typing away, trying to get some stuff done. Because at the end of the day, what I do for a job, how much work I put in correlates to how much I get paid.
So the only difference is that because it's remote, you're not in an office with a boss that you have to report to and who's watching your screen and all that kind of stuff. I actually think that for a lot of people, including myself, that's actually a pretty good environment to be in, because you walk in, you start work at 8 or 9 or whatever you start, you do your 8 hours and you're done. You're finished for the day and you're finished for the weekend, and your job is just a job. But when you work either for yourself or work remotely for someone, you have to self-motivate. You have to make sure that you get up and come to work at the right time and all this kind of stuff. And at any time you want, you could just stop and say, okay, I'm going to go to the swimming pool or whatever. And to be able to manage that, to be able to be self-motivated is, I think, difficult for a lot of people. So that's probably the biggest single difference.
So I think for terms of real job, it's a different type of job. Not a real job, it's just a different way of working. I mean, yeah, I do on the road the kinds of jobs that people do at home in offices, but the difference is I'm just in a different location and I've freed myself up from being in a set base. And I think it's more about being self-employed. And if you speak to anyone who's self-employed, they probably work as crazily as anyone who's a digital nomad does as well.
I'll still have to go to work, and otherwise I'm not going to get no money and I'll have to go back home. So it's still a real job out here, but the benefits are, when I have got time off, I feel like there's better things to do.
I think people who go for the real job question assume that because I'm living in Bali and surfing every day, I'm not actually doing any work. And I think if you ask anyone that terms themselves as a digital nomad, they will tell you that they probably work a lot harder than you realise, or their Instagram feeds show you. Or
for me personally, I'm still getting up in the morning, going to work, but my quality of life's a lot better while I'm out here, which is why I want to chase working remotely as a full-time job.
Since my job is actually a web developer, it is technically a real job. It's just that you have the luxury of being able to do it remotely, which is now becoming a lot more common.
Just to travel around and see different countries as well, spend time there, get to know different people.
And then if I want to take 3 weeks off, at some point, I'll do that whenever I want. So, freedom, I'm free.
I really don't want a real job, to be fair, and would like to continue traveling and working.
There's so much more to life than just going to an office every day.
I think my short answer would be freedom.
There's just so much freedom in being your own boss.
Taking the commute train to work and be stuck there for the rest of the day.
You don't really have the control, and with being like a digital nomad, you have the opportunity to see the world and you see it on your own terms, and having the ability to work while you do that is priceless.
My advice to anyone considering this is to try and get some freelance clients back at home first and get some work prepared before you come out here, because while you're out here it's quite difficult to find work because of time differences and not being able to see people face to face to build that trust.
Depends if you have a skill already that can be applied online or not. If you don't have a skill, the first thing to do is to find a skill and work at it. And I would cut your costs by living at home with your parents or whatever. Get your head down and make sure you have that before coming out to a place like Chiang Mai where we are now and thinking that you're going to be able to just start making money straight away.
Why don't I get a real job? Because I'd rather work for myself in the sunshine and be able to walk to the beach and go for a surf.
There's just so much freedom in this kind of work.